Marcus Whitmore was not forgetful. His mind was sharp as a blade, cataloging numbers, deals, and faces with photographic precision. At 68 years old, he had built an empire worth $4.3 billion from nothing but grit and calculated risks. He owned tech companies, real estate across 3 continents, and a fleet of luxury cars that most people only saw in magazines. But today, as he sat in the back seat of his black Bentley, watching the rain streak down the tinted windows, Marcus was about to pretend to be the most forgetful man alive. This was a game Marcus played often, a test, a trap. Because Marcus Whitmore trusted no one. His 3 ex-wives had taken millions. His former business partners had sold him out for a bigger payday. Even his own brother had stolen company secrets and sold them to competitors. Marcus had learned the hard truth. Everyone had a price. Everyone would betray you if the stakes were high enough. Love, loyalty, family, these were just pretty words people used before they showed their true colors. Today he would test his driver. James Murphy had worked for Marcus for 6 months. He was 52 years old, a quiet man with calloused hands and a face that had seen hard times. James never complained, never asked for raises, never pried into Marcus's business. He simply drove, opened doors, and disappeared into the background like a good servant should. Marcus appreciated that. But appreciation was not trust. Marcus had done his homework. James was a widower. His wife, Catherine, had died of cancer 4 years ago, leaving behind medical bills that had swallowed their savings and drowned James in debt. He had a daughter named Emma, who was 19 years old and studying nursing at Portland Community College. Emma worked 3 part-time jobs to pay for books and tuition because James's salary barely covered rent and food. They were desperate, and desperate people did desperate things. That's what Marcus believed. The Bentley glided through the wet streets of downtown Portland, Oregon. Rain hammered the roof like 1,000 tiny fists. Outside, the city blurred into streaks of gray and neon. Marcus checked his Rolex, 6:47 p.m. Perfect timing. "James," Marcus called from the back seat, his voice cutting through the soft hum of the engine. "Yes, Mr. Whitmore?" James's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. "Take me to Salvatore's. I have a dinner meeting at 7. "Of course, sir." Salvatore's was the most expensive Italian restaurant in Portland. A single meal there could cost $800. Marcus ate there twice a week, always paying in cash, always tipping exactly 18%. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Generosity, Marcus believed, made people weak and expectant. The Bentley pulled up to the restaurant's valet stand. Red carpet, golden lights, a doorman in a crisp uniform holding an oversized umbrella. James stepped out, opened the rear door, and held the umbrella over Marcus as he emerged from the vehicle. Marcus straightened his $5,000 suit and reached into his inner pocket. Then he stopped. He patted his chest, his other pocket, his pants pockets. "My wallet," Marcus said, his voice heavy with manufactured frustration. "I must have left it in the office." James stood perfectly still, water dripping from the edge of the umbrella. "Would you like me to drive you back, sir?" "No time," Marcus snapped, glancing at his watch. "Senator Caldwell is already inside. I can't keep him waiting." He looked at James with narrowed eyes. "Do you have any cash on you?" James hesitated. I have $23, sir." Marcus scoffed. "That won't even cover the appetizers." He paused, letting the silence stretch like a wire about to snap. "Never mind. I'll handle it. Just wait here." Marcus turned and walked toward the entrance, but he didn't go inside. He stopped just past the doorway, hidden in the shadows of the awning, and watched. This was the test. Marcus had not forgotten his wallet. It was in his pocket right now, thick with $100 bills. But James didn't know that. James thought his boss was embarrassed, unprepared, and about to walk into an expensive dinner with no way to pay. Marcus watched through the glass doors as James stood alone beside the Bentley, rain soaking his cap and shoulders. The valet had taken the car keys. James was stuck there, holding that stupid umbrella, looking lost. Then Marcus saw it. James pulled out his phone. His lips moved. He was calling someone. Here it comes, Marcus thought. He's calling his daughter. He's going to tell her to steal something from my office. Or maybe he'll ask a friend to break into my house. This is where the good, honest working man shows his true face. Marcus felt a sick satisfaction rising in his chest. Another person exposed, another lesson learned. James Murphy's hands were shaking as he pressed Emma's name on his phone. The call rang once, twice. "Dad?" Emma's voice was bright, warm, cutting through the sound of the rain. "Hey, I'm just finishing my shift at the diner. What's up?" James swallowed hard. His throat felt tight. "Emma, sweetheart, I need to ask you something, and I need you to say yes without asking questions." There was a pause. "Dad, you're scaring me. What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. James looked toward the restaurant doors where his boss had disappeared. "Mr. Whitmore forgot his wallet. He's about to have dinner with a senator, and he has no way to pay." "Okay? I need you to bring me money," James said, his voice barely above a whisper. "As much as you have. I know you just got paid from the diner. I know you were saving it for your textbooks next semester, but I need it, Emma, right now." Silence. James closed his eyes. He felt like the worst father in the world. "Dad," Emma finally said, her voice soft but steady. "How much do you need?" "I don't know. Maybe 500, maybe more." James felt his chest tighten. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. I'll pay you back. I swear I'll—" "Dad, stop." Emma's voice was firm now. "Where are you?" "Salvatore's, on 4th Avenue. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Emma, your textbooks?" "Dad," she cut him off, "you've given me everything. Let me give you something back. I'm on my way." The line went dead. James stood there, staring at his phone, rain dripping from his nose. He wanted to cry, he wanted to scream, but he just stood there, holding the umbrella, waiting. Marcus watched from the shadows. He saw James make the call. He saw the defeated slump of the man's shoulders. He saw James wipe his face. Whether from rain or tears, Marcus couldn't tell. Pathetic, Marcus thought. He's calling someone to help him steal from me. They'll probably hit my office tonight while I'm at dinner. Clean out the safe, maybe take some of the art pieces. Marcus pulled out his own phone and texted his head of security. "Increase security at the office. Activate all cameras. Alert me if anyone enters the building tonight." The reply came instantly. "Done, sir." Marcus smiled. He had them. Whatever they tried, he'd catch them red-handed. Then he'd fire James, press charges, and add another story to his growing collection of proof that humanity was rotten to the core. 15 minutes felt like an hour. Marcus waited. James waited. The rain kept falling. Then a car pulled up. It was a beat-up Toyota Corolla, at least 20 years old, with a dented fender and a missing hubcap. The driver's side door opened and a young woman stepped out. Emma Murphy. Marcus had seen her photo in the background check, but seeing her in person was different. She was small, maybe 5'3", with dark hair pulled into a ponytail. She wore scrubs, mint green, stained with coffee and what looked like ketchup, and her sneakers were held together with duct tape. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, a defeated slump in her shoulders. But she was running. She ran through the rain toward her father, clutching a small zippered pouch against her chest like it was made of gold. "Dad!" she called out. James turned, his face crumpled. "Emma, you didn't have to." "Shh." She reached him and pressed the pouch into his hands. "Take it." James unzipped it with trembling fingers. Inside was a messy pile of crumpled bills, 5s, 10s, 20s, 1s, coins rattling at the bottom. "It's $387, Emma said, breathless. "It's everything I have. My whole paycheck from the diner, the tips from this week. And I stopped at an ATM and withdrew the $50 I had left in my account." She smiled, even though her lips were trembling. "I know it's not much, but—" "Emma," James's voice broke. "Your books, your tuition deposit for next semester, you were going to—" "I'll figure it out," Emma said firmly. She grabbed her father's hands, squeezing them tight. "Dad, you work 16-hour days for me. You've never missed a single one of my school events. You sold Mom's wedding ring so I could go to prom. You think I'm going to let you stand here in the rain worrying about your boss's dinner bill?" James pulled her into a hug. His shoulders shook. Emma held him, her small frame somehow holding up this broken man. "It's okay," she whispered. "We're a team, remember, you and me. We take care of each other." Marcus watched from the shadows. His chest felt strange, tight, hot. He had expected a scheme, a theft, a betrayal. But this? This girl had just given her father every penny she had. She wasn't stealing from Marcus. She was giving to protect her father's dignity. She was sacrificing her entire future, her textbooks, her tuition, her safety net, to save her father from embarrassment. Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in 20 years: shame. James Murphy wiped his eyes and pulled away from his daughter. "You need to go home. You're soaked. You'll get sick." "So will you," Emma smiled. "But we're tough, right?" "The toughest." James tried to smile back, but it didn't reach his eyes. He looked down at the crumpled bills in the pouch. "I'll pay you back, baby. Every cent, I promise." "I know you will." Emma squeezed his hand one more time, then turned to walk back to her car. But before she could take 3 steps, a voice stopped her cold. "Wait." Both Emma and James turned. Marcus Whitmore stepped out from the shadows of the awning. He was soaked, his $5,000 suit ruined by rain, but he didn't seem to care. He walked slowly toward them, his face unreadable. James's stomach dropped. "Mr. Whitmore, I can explain." "Explain what?" Marcus's voice was quiet, dangerous. "Explain why you called your daughter to bail me out? Explain why she just gave you her life savings?" Emma stepped forward, her chin raised despite the fear in her eyes. "Sir, my dad didn't do anything wrong. He was just trying to help you. If there's a problem, it's my fault. How old are you?" Marcus interrupted. "I'm 19. "And you work where?" "3 places, sir." Emma's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. "I'm a server at Rosie's Diner on Burnside. I clean offices downtown on weekends. And I stock shelves at a grocery store on Tuesday and Thursday nights." 3 jobs. Marcus's eyes narrowed. "And you're in school?" "Yes, sir. Nursing program at PCC." "And how much do you make?" Emma hesitated. I don't think that's—" "How much?" Marcus repeated, his voice sharper. "About $500 a month," Emma said quietly. "Sometimes less." Marcus looked at the pouch in James's hands. "And you just gave your father $387. That's more than a quarter of your income." "Yes, sir." "Why?" Emma blinked. "Why? Why would you do that?" Marcus demanded. "You don't even know me. I'm a stranger, a rich man who can afford to forget his wallet. Why would you sacrifice your future for my dinner bill?" Emma looked at her father, then back at Marcus. "Because he asked me to." "That's it?" Marcus's voice was rising now, anger and confusion bleeding together. "Because he asked?" "No." Emma shook her head. "Because he's my dad, and he's never asked me for anything, not once. Not when Mom was sick and we couldn't afford her medicine, not when the bank tried to take our house, not when I wanted to quit school because I was tired." Her voice cracked. "He's given me everything, so when he finally asks for help, I don't ask questions. I just show up." Marcus stared at her. The rain poured harder. Thunder rumbled in the distance. "You're a fool," Marcus said coldly. Emma flinched like she'd been slapped. James stepped forward, his face dark with fury. "Mr. Whitmore, with all due respect, you don't talk to my daughter like—" "You're both fools," Marcus continued, ignoring James. "You gave away money you can't afford to lose. For what? To save me from embarrassment? I'm a billionaire. I could buy this restaurant with pocket change. And yet you," he pointed at Emma, "you emptied your bank account. For me." Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. "Sir, I don't understand what you want me to say." Marcus reached into his suit jacket. He pulled out his wallet, thick black leather bulging with cash. He held it up. "I didn't forget my wallet," Marcus said quietly. The words hung in the air like smoke. James went pale. "What?" "I lied." Marcus's voice was flat. "I wanted to see what you would do. I wanted to see if you'd steal from me, if you'd call your criminal friends, if you'd show me who you really were when you thought I was vulnerable." James's hands clenched into fists. You tested me?" "Yes." "You tested my daughter?" "Yes." James's face twisted with rage and heartbreak. "We gave you everything. She gave you everything, and it was a game to you." Marcus didn't answer. He couldn't. Because James was right. Emma was crying now, silent tears mixing with the rain. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do that?" Marcus looked at this girl, this exhausted, broke, beautiful girl who had just proven him wrong about everything, and he felt his carefully constructed walls begin to crack. "Because," Marcus said, his voice barely audible, I've been rich for 40 years, and in 40 years, not a single person has ever given me something without expecting more in return. Not my wives, not my children, not my friends." He paused. "I thought you'd be the same. I thought everyone was the same." "Well, congratulations," James said bitterly. "You got your answer. Now you know we're just stupid, desperate people who trust the wrong men." James grabbed Emma's arm. "Come on, baby, we're leaving." "Wait," Marcus's voice cracked. "Please." James stopped. He didn't turn around. Marcus took a deep breath. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen." Silence. 23 years ago, Marcus began, I was married to a woman named Victoria. She was beautiful, smart, and kind. Or so I thought. We had 2 kids, Michael and Sarah. I worked 90-hour weeks to build my company. I gave Victoria everything, a mansion, cars, jewelry, vacations. His voice hardened. And then I came home early one day and found her in bed with my best friend. She'd been sleeping with him for 2 years. When I confronted her, you know what she said? No one answered. She said, "You were never here anyway. What did you expect?" Marcus laughed bitterly. "She took half of everything in the divorce. My best friend became her new husband, and my kids. They sided with her. They called me a workaholic monster who deserved to be alone." Emma turned around slowly, her face streaked with tears and rain. "After that," Marcus continued, "I married again and again. Both times the same story. They loved my money. They tolerated me. The moment things got hard, they left. Took the money and ran." He looked at Emma. "So I built walls. I tested everyone. I waited for them to betray me. And you know what? They always did. Every single time. Until tonight," Emma said softly. Marcus nodded. "Until tonight." James finally turned around. His face was stone. "So what now? You feel bad? You want to apologize and make it all better?" "No," Marcus said. "An apology isn't enough. I can't undo what I did. I can't give you back the trust I broke." He reached into his wallet and pulled out a thick stack of $100 bills. He held them out toward Emma. "But I can do this. This is $10,000. It's yours." Emma shook her head. "I don't want your money." "Take it," Marcus insisted. "It's not charity. It's restitution. I hurt you. I manipulated you. This is the least I can do." "No." Emma's voice was firm. She pushed his hand away. "You don't get to buy your way out of this. You don't get to throw money at me and feel better about yourself." Marcus stared at her, stunned. "I'm trying to make it right." "Then stop testing people," Emma shot back. "Stop waiting for everyone to betray you. Maybe if you actually trusted someone, they wouldn't have a reason to leave." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He stood there, holding $10,000 in the rain, and realized that this 19-year-old girl, this broke, exhausted, good girl, had just given him the truth he'd been avoiding for 40 years. He was alone because he chose to be. He pushed people away before they could hurt him. He built walls so high that love couldn't climb them. And now, standing in the rain, soaked and broken, Marcus Whitmore finally understood what he'd lost. "You're right," Marcus whispered. "You're absolutely right." Emma wiped her eyes. "We're going home now, Mr. Whitmore. And tomorrow my dad is going to find a new job, because he deserves better than working for someone who treats him like a lab rat." She turned to leave. James followed. "Wait." Marcus's voice was desperate now. "Please. Give me one chance, just one." James stopped again, but he didn't turn around. "Why should we?" "Because," Marcus said, his voice breaking, "because I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of hating everyone. And I don't want to die a bitter old man who pushed away the only good people he ever met." Emma looked at her father. James looked back at her. Some silent conversation passed between them. Finally, James sighed. "What do you want, Mr. Whitmore?" Marcus lowered the money. "I want to earn your trust, not buy it, earn it." He paused. "I want to offer you both something, but not tonight. Tonight I've done enough damage. If you're willing, meet me tomorrow. Same place, same time, and I'll show you I'm serious." Emma crossed her arms. "Serious about what?" "Serious about change," Marcus said. "Serious about being the kind of man your father is, the kind of father you deserve." James studied Marcus's face for a long moment. "If this is another test, No tests, Marcus said firmly. I promise, on my life, no more games. Emma looked at James. Dad? James closed his eyes, then nodded. Okay, tomorrow, 7 p.m. But if you waste our time, I won't, Marcus said quickly. Thank you both. Emma and James walked back to the old Corolla. Marcus watched them drive away, taillights disappearing into the rain. Then Marcus Whitmore, billionaire, stood alone in the downpour and cried for the first time in 23 years. The next evening, Emma and James arrived at Salvatore's at 6:55 p.m. The rain had stopped, but the air still smelled like wet concrete. They stood outside the restaurant, both wearing their best clothes, which, honestly, weren't very impressive. James wore a button-up shirt with a small stain on the collar. Emma wore a simple blue dress she'd bought from Goodwill for $6. Dad, Emma said quietly, what if this is another trick? James squeezed her hand. Then we leave, and we never look back. At exactly 7 p.m., Marcus Whitmore emerged from the restaurant, but he wasn't alone. Beside him was an older woman, maybe in her early 60s, with gray hair pulled into an elegant bun. She wore a navy blazer and carried a leather briefcase. She smiled warmly at Emma and James. Good evening, Marcus said. He looked different, less severe. His eyes were softer. Thank you for coming. This is Margaret Lawson. She's my attorney. James tensed. Your attorney? Are you suing us? No, Marcus raised his hands. Please, just listen. He gestured to Margaret. Margaret, if you would. Margaret opened her briefcase and pulled out several documents. Mr. Whitmore has asked me to draft some legal agreements. If you're willing, James, he'd like to offer you a new position. James blinked. A position? Not as my driver, Marcus clarified. As my executive assistant. The job comes with a salary of $120,000 a year, full benefits, a company car, and a housing allowance. James's jaw dropped. That's 6 times what I make now. You've earned it, Marcus said simply. You're loyal, discreet, and honest. Those are rare qualities. I need someone I can trust. And after last night, he swallowed hard. I know I can trust you. Emma grabbed her father's arm. Dad, And Emma, Marcus interrupted, turning to her. I'd like to pay for your education. Emma froze. What? Your nursing degree. All of it. Tuition, books, housing, everything. And when you graduate, I'll set up a scholarship fund in your mother's name, the Catherine Murphy Memorial Nursing Scholarship. It'll help other students like you, kids who work 3 jobs just to chase a dream. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Mr. Whitmore, I don't understand. Why are you doing this? Because, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion, you gave me something no amount of money can buy. You gave me hope. You reminded me that good people still exist, and I don't want to waste whatever time I have left being the kind of man I was yesterday. Margaret handed the documents to James. It's all here in writing. No tricks, no conditions, just a fair offer. James looked at the papers, his hands shaking. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Marcus said softly. Please, let me do this. Emma looked at her father. James looked at Marcus. And for the first time in 40 years, Marcus Whitmore wasn't looking at someone with suspicion or cynicism. He was looking at them with gratitude. And maybe, just maybe, with something like love. James took a deep breath. Okay. Yes, we'll accept. Marcus smiled, a real smile, not the cold smirk he usually wore. Thank you. Margaret handed them pens. They signed. And just like that, everything changed. But Marcus wasn't finished. Over the next 3 months, Marcus did something he'd never done before. He became present. He showed up. He listened. He attended Emma's graduation ceremony when she completed her first year of nursing school. He sat in the audience, clapping louder than anyone else when she walked across the stage. Afterward, he took Emma and James to dinner, not at Salvatore's, but at Rosie's diner, where Emma used to work. He ordered meatloaf and sat in a cracked vinyl booth, and it was the best meal he'd had in years. He met Emma's younger brother, Caleb, who was 16 and obsessed with computers. Marcus set Caleb up with an internship at one of his tech companies. Within 6 months, Caleb was thriving. designing code that impressed even Marcus's senior developers. James moved into a modest but beautiful apartment near Marcus's office. For the first time in 4 years, James wasn't drowning in debt. He could breathe, he could sleep. And every morning when he came to work, Marcus greeted him not as a servant, but as a friend. And Marcus learned to trust again. He stopped testing people. He stopped waiting for betrayal. He opened his heart, just a crack, and let light pour in. 2 years later, on a warm June evening, Marcus hosted a small dinner party at his estate in the hills overlooking Portland. It wasn't a lavish event, just 20 people. Good people. People Marcus had learned to love. James was there, of course, sitting at the head of the table beside Marcus. Emma was there too, now a licensed nurse working at Portland General Hospital. Caleb was there, a freshman at MIT studying computer science on a full scholarship Marcus had arranged. Margaret Lawson, the attorney who had become Marcus's closest confidant, sat beside her husband, a retired teacher who loved bad puns and made everyone laugh. And there were others, a small patchwork family Marcus had built over the past 2 years. Not through blood or obligation, but through trust. As dinner wound down, Marcus stood up, clinking his glass with a fork. The table went quiet. "I want to tell you all a story," Marcus began. 2 years ago, I was a bitter, paranoid man. I didn't trust anyone. I didn't love anyone. I thought the world was full of liars and thieves, and I set traps to prove it. He paused, his voice catching. And then one rainy night, a young woman named Emma proved me wrong. Emma's cheeks turned red. She tried to hide her face, but Marcus shook his head. "Emma, you gave me everything you had to help your father. You didn't ask for anything in return. You didn't even hesitate." He looked around the table. "That night, you showed me something I'd forgotten, that the richest people on earth aren't the ones with the most money. They're the ones with the most love." Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn object. He held it up for everyone to see. It was the zippered pouch Emma had given James that night, the one with $387 inside. "I kept this," Marcus said, "as a reminder. I never spent a single dollar of it, because this isn't money, it's proof. Proof that love exists, proof that sacrifice is real, proof that I was wrong about everything." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "So tonight," Marcus continued, his voice steady now, "I want to give something back." He pulled out an envelope and handed it to Emma. "Open it." Emma's hands shook as she tore open the envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper, a deed. "It's the diner," Marcus explained. "Rosie's Diner. I bought it last month, and it's yours now, yours and your father's. You can run it however you want, hire whoever you want, build whatever kind of business you dream of." Emma's mouth fell open. "Mr. Whitmore, I can't." "You can," Marcus said gently. "And you will. Because you're not like me, Emma. You don't hoard love. You give it away freely. And that's the kind of person who should own something beautiful." Emma stood up, tears streaming down her face, and walked over to Marcus. She hugged him tight, and Marcus, this cold, cynical, broken man, hugged her back. "Thank you," Emma whispered, "for everything." "No," Marcus said quietly. "Thank you. You saved my life." 3 more years passed. Emma and James turned Rosie's Diner into a thriving community hub. They hired single parents, formerly incarcerated people, and anyone who needed a second chance. The food was good, but the love was better. People came not just to eat, but to feel cared for. Caleb graduated from MIT and started his own tech company with seed money from Marcus. Within a year, the company was valued at $50 million. Marcus retired from most of his businesses. He spent his days volunteering at a local food bank, mentoring young entrepreneurs, and sitting in Rosie's Diner drinking bad coffee and talking to strangers. He was 73 years old, and for the first time in his life, Marcus Whitmore was happy. On a quiet Sunday morning, Marcus sat in his favorite booth at the diner. Emma brought him his usual, black coffee, scrambled eggs, and toast. "You know," Marcus said, smiling up at her, "I used to think wealth was about how much you owned. But I was wrong." Emma tilted her head. "What is it then?" Marcus looked around the diner. He saw James flipping pancakes in the kitchen, laughing at something Caleb had said. He saw Margaret and her husband sharing a piece of pie. He saw a single mother in the corner, her baby asleep in her arms, eating a free meal Emma had quietly comped. Wealth, Marcus said softly, is about how many people you love, and how many people love you back. Emma smiled. She leaned down and kissed Marcus's cheek. You're rich then. Really, really rich. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. Yeah, he whispered, I guess I am. Marcus Whitmore passed away peacefully in his sleep 5 years later, at the age of 78. His funeral was held at a small church in downtown Portland. Over 300 people attended. None of them were there because Marcus was a billionaire. They were there because Marcus had been kind. Emma Murphy gave the eulogy. Marcus Whitmore once told me, Emma said, her voice strong despite the tears, that he'd spent 40 years building walls. He said he thought he was protecting himself, but really, he was building a prison. She paused. And then one rainy night, he decided to tear those walls down. He decided to trust. He decided to love. And in those last 8 years of his life, he became the richest man I ever knew. Emma reached into her pocket and pulled out the small zippered pouch, the one Marcus had kept all these years. He never spent this money, Emma said, holding it up. He kept it as a reminder that love is real, that sacrifice matters, that people are good if you give them a chance. She smiled through her tears. Marcus taught me that the greatest test isn't finding out who will betray you. It's finding out who will stand by you when you're at your weakest, and then choosing to stand by them too. Emma placed the pouch on Marcus's coffin. Thank you, Marcus, she whispered, for letting us love you, for teaching us to trust, and for showing us that it's never too late to become the person you were meant to be. The funeral ended. People left, but Emma stayed, sitting beside the coffin, holding her father's hand. He was a good man, James said quietly. He became one, Emma corrected, and that's even better. In his will, Marcus left most of his fortune to charity, but he left specific bequests to the people who had changed his life. To James, $5 million in a letter that said, "You taught me what loyalty looks like. Thank you for never giving up on me, even when I gave you every reason to." To Caleb, $3 million in a note that said, "Use this to build something beautiful. Change the world, kid. I know you will." To Margaret, $2 million in a letter that said, "You were my conscience when I didn't have one. Thank you for your patience and your grace." And to Emma, $10 million in the keys to Marcus's estate. The letter with Emma's inheritance read, "Emma, 8 years ago, you gave me $387 in a zippered pouch. It was all the money you had in the world, and you gave it without hesitation, without conditions, without expecting anything in return. That night, you saved me. Not because you gave me money, but because you showed me what real love looks like. You reminded me that trust isn't weakness, that sacrifice isn't foolish, that people are worth believing in. I'm leaving you this money not because you need it, though I hope it helps, but because I want you to keep giving it away. Build more diners, hire more broken people, fix more lives, and when people ask you why you're so generous, tell them, because someone once taught me that the poorest pocket can hold the richest heart. Thank you, Emma, for everything. With all my love, Marcus." Emma read the letter alone, sitting in the library of Marcus's estate. She cried, she laughed, and then she got to work. Today, the Catherine Murphy Memorial Nursing Scholarship has sent 427 students through nursing school. Rosie's Diner has expanded to 5 locations across Oregon, each one hiring people who need second chances. And Emma Murphy, now 32 years old, runs the Marcus Whitmore Foundation, which gives away millions of dollars every year to causes Marcus would have loved. She never forgot the lesson. And whenever someone asks her how she became so successful, Emma smiles and pulls out a small, battered, zippered pouch from her desk drawer. "This," she says, "is worth more than all the money in the world, because it taught me that trust isn't something you test. It's something you give." This story teaches us that cynicism is a prison we build ourselves. Marcus tested people because he expected betrayal, and his distrust created the very loneliness he feared. But Emma showed us something powerful. Genuine kindness needs no conditions. She gave everything without hesitation, not because she was naive, but because she understood that love is stronger than fear. The lesson: stop testing, start trusting, When you approach life expecting goodness, you attract it. When you give without calculating returns, you receive abundance beyond measure. Your capacity to trust is your greatest wealth. Don't let past wounds steal your future joy. Choose faith over fear. Choose connection over protection. That's where real richness lives. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. Let's spread hope together. Thank you for watching.